Hi. So I'm sure you got my video. Well, I don't know. Actually, I don't know. I really don't know. I often think people don't look at these videos. But whether you did or whether you didn't is no matter. I just wanted to say I'm sorry about the news about the school. And I just hope that you all can continue to do the best that you can under the circumstances. I intend to finish my tenure at Sacred Heart as best as I can, and I hope you all will too. Today's work is going to be just, again, ease back in real slow, a very quick exercise, which is exercise 8 on page 87, and it involves what is called the Ablative Absolute. And I think I've said it before, Ablativos Absolutus. It's the ablative absolute that uses the perfect passive participle, which is again the fourth principal part of a verb. Excuse me. And we have an example of that here. But let me read through this quickly. The ablative absolute is composed of two elements: a noun or a pronoun in the ablative case, and another word, usually a participle, and in this case, in exercise 8 and in this example here, definitely a participle, the perfect passive participle particularly, also in the ablative case. Neither of the words in the ablative absolute can be grammatically related to any word in the main clause. So absolute means free from. Remember that the word solvo, solvere means to loosen or to free. So this construction over here on the left, literis aceptis, has been loosened or freed, shall we say, from what is the main clause here, which is really just this verb that says he set out. So literis aceptis, both ablative plural. The reason why this is singular is because the word for letter, outside of epistula is also a word for letter, but the word literae, literarum, is a plural noun for a singular thing, as I think we have seen in this recent chapter that we're still on. So literis aceptis, the letter having been received, he set out, or after the letter had been received, he set out. And as you'll see down here, there's a few more options here, but I'll get to that in a second. So it's comprised of two things: the ablative plural form of literae, and the ablative plural form of the perfect passive participle of the verb accipio, accipere, which if you look it up will be accipio, accipere, accipi, acceptus. Remember, a long time ago we had dare and accipere, to give and to receive, and here we have this form of that verb. So literis acceptis profectus est. After the letter had been received, he set out. Now the second part here, the ablative absolute can be used to show the situation or the circumstances when something else has happened. It is also used to show time when something is happening, or the causes surrounding something, or even something that is called concession, which is really just the use of this word although down here, as you'll see. The translation of the ablative absolute depends entirely on the context. Maybe Elizabeth, Matthew, and Michael will remember that I said, look at the context and decide what the right conjunction to use is here. So, thus, depending on the context, the phrase literis aceptis could also mean once the letter was received, since the letter had been received, although the letter had been received, he set out. And again, it really depends on the circumstances. And there's been a couple of appearances of this structure in the chapter 23 story. And exercise 8 will remind you maybe of some of those moments where it occurs. Let's see, what else is there to say? Oh yeah, right. I have this here just to give you a few examples. Oh, did I disappear? I disappeared. Anyway, if we can look at a few of these, I'll focus on the ones that you've probably seen words for, like number 4 here, fabula narrata. Comes from the word, obviously, fabula, and the verb narrare, which means to tell. And this again is the fourth principal part of narare. So naro, narare, naravi, naratus. But it becomes narata because of the fabula. So fabula narrata, after the story had been told, when the story had been told, although the story had been told, etc. I'll skip down to number 7 here because these are again familiar words, I think. The word verbis comes from verbum, verbi, neuter, second declension, word. And this form here, dictis, comes from dico, dicere, dixi, dictus. And after the words, verbis is going to be ablative plural for that word there. And then, of course, this is going to match to that form. It won't always be that simple. As you see maybe up here in number 3, magistratibus, this is a third declension noun. But all of these perfect past participles function like us, adjectives. So they stay in this world, in the is world. But they can modify ibus nouns. So let's see, verbis dictis, we said, vestimentis indutis, after the clothes had been put on, again from vestimenta, and induo, induere. Pecunia amissa comes from, obviously, pecunia, and amito, amitere, amisi, amisos is to lose, so this is after the money had been lost. Certainly you'll recognize Janua, and aperire is where this verb comes from. Janua, aperta, after the door had been closed. This is after Gaul had been pacified or conquered. Ignibus extinctis is another example of how a third declension noun here, ignis is fire. I think we've seen it, but I'm not positive, honestly. But it can go with this verb extinguo, extinguere, extinxi, extinctus. And so ignibus, after the fires, ablative plural, excuse me, with extinctis had been put out. One more example here. Kibo sumpto, after the food had been taken or eaten. Kibo gives itself to sumpto. Again here, sumo, sumere, sumpsi, sumptus. So we start with sumptus, and we think of kibus, and we give the ablative singular, and the ablative singular is also applied here. Okay? Now, with that in mind, I would ask you to do exercise 8. Again, you might have to... actually, you do not have to look up the participles. You might just have to think about what noun. I'm sorry I don't have exercise 8 up here on the board, but again, it's on page 87, and it's really just filling in the blanks and translating the sentences so that I know that you've actually followed this video, and that's all that really needs to be done. There are 7 sentences. There are 2 blanks in each sentence on exercise 8. And please look at the example. The example says, I wish I had it on the board here, or on the screen, but I don't. The example says, cane vincto, maybe you can read along with me here, cane vincto tabularius intrat. Cane vincto is after the dog has been chained or restrained, tabularius intrat, the messenger or the courier enters. So cane vincto is separate or absolved or loosened from tabularius intrat. It's doing its own thing. So there are 2 clauses there, even though there's no commas. And if you look in the parentheses next to it, postquam canis vinctus est really is like cane vincto means the same thing as postquam canis vinctus est, after the dog has been chained or restrained. And then there's another example, Marcus veste mutata in atrium reddit. Now, veste mutata is still loosened or separated out from that main clause, even though it is inserted into the middle of it. So Marcus returns into the atrium after his clothing has been changed. Veste mutata, which would be said also postquam vestis mutata est, after the clothing has been changed. And that's it. Hopefully that's enough, because this is now 10 minutes long, and I do hate to do these long videos, but I'm always like trying to think, well, better to overdo it than to underdo it. Okay, good luck. Please upload it to the stream, exercise 8, do it in a Google document, fill in the blanks, maybe highlight the words that have blanks in them, and then translate next to them. Okay? Thank you. Adios.